Chosen one, listen carefully. This moment is not a coincidence. Heaven has paused everything else so that you could hear this. You are not like the rest. You were never meant to blend in. You carry a light that interrupts darkness, a fire that draws angelic attention. When you said yes to God's whisper, when you decided to walk in His plan, something unseen shifted. Angels were released. The atmosphere around your life changed. You may not have seen it, but the spiritual realm took notice. The moment you surrendered, heaven moved. The veil between the visible and invisible trembled as messengers were dispatched. You are not walking an ordinary path, you are walking the path of divine design. Every step you take echoes in eternity, and every tear you've shed has been counted and treasured by the one who sent you. You may have wondered why the attacks intensified after you chose obedience. It is because your yes carries weight. The enemy sees your obedience as a threat, but God sees it as alignment. The heavens have already written your victory before you even face the battle. Your surrender activated angels that walk before you, beside you, and behind you. You've walked through nights of confusion, moments where you felt unseen and unheard. But even in silence, heaven was speaking over you. Every unanswered question became an altar for faith to rise. You are not abandoned. You are accompanied. The unseen ones move with precision around your life, ensuring that no weapon formed against you prospers. You might have thought those coincidences, the job that came just in time, the person who called when you were on the verge of giving up, the accident that never happened were luck. But no, chosen one. That was divine orchestration. Angels have been guarding you, adjusting outcomes and shielding you from unseen destruction. Heaven has been working even when you were weeping. Do not think lightly of this. You were chosen before you were born. The breath that fills your lungs carries divine purpose. The reason you survived what others did not is because you are marked for this exact generation. There are instructions written in the heavens with your name upon them. And angels are the carriers of those divine orders. So as you step forward, step with confidence. Walk as one who knows the throne of heaven watches. You are not an accident wandering through chaos. You are an assignment walking through time. The same God who parted the Red Sea walks with you. The same angels that ministered to Elijah in the wilderness walk beside you now. And as you breathe these words, heaven listens. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Take a breath. Feel that the air around you is shifting. This is not just a message, it is confirmation. You are standing at a divine intersection. God is calling you to trust Him completely, even when you can't see the path. You were not chosen because you were perfect. You were chosen because you were willing. Heaven doesn't require your perfection, only your obedience. Let these words sink in. You are protected, surrounded, and anointed. Angels have been assigned to your name. You carry divine backing, and no darkness can overpower what heaven has decreed. Lift your head, straighten your shoulders. Walk like the one who has been chosen to carry light into dark places. And now, before you scroll away, do this as a prophetic act of agreement. Like this message, share it so others may awaken, and comment 777 below to declare, I walk in His plan. Your obedience, even in this moment, multiplies the message of light across the earth. You begin to sense it now, the quiet movement in the air, the stillness that comes before revelation. You walk through your day, and though everything seems ordinary, your spirit knows that something unseen surrounds you. There are moments when you pause, not sure why, only to realize later that your delay saved you from harm. There are times when a thought, gentle and persistent, redirects your path. That chosen one is not mere instinct, it is the divine presence of angels walking beside you. Heaven has placed watchmen around your life. You are not alone. Though the world may make you feel isolated, you have been feeling the brush of wings, the whisper of peace that comes when everything in you should be trembling. It is heaven reminding you that you are known and that the veil between worlds is thinner than you think. There are times when you feel a chill down your spine during prayer, or warmth flooding your chest in worship. Those sensations are not emotion, they are acknowledgement. Angels respond to worship, to faith, to surrender. They draw near when the name of God is exalted because your praise becomes a beacon in the spirit realm, a signal to the hosts of heaven that one of his chosen is standing firm on earth. The world you see is not the only one you walk in. Every step you take in faith causes ripples in the unseen. When you speak words of life, the atmosphere shifts. When you pray, angels move with purpose. When you choose forgiveness, light pierces through invisible barriers. And when you love in the face of hate, you release divine authority that confuses the enemy's plans. You are a walking instrument of heaven's will. There have been moments when you sat in silence, feeling forgotten. But listen closely, every sigh has been recorded. Every tear has been witnessed. The unseen realm takes notice of your perseverance. It is not wasted pain. It is worship disguised as endurance. The angels assigned to you have seen you fight unseen battles, and they have carried reports of your faithfulness before the throne. The Lord does not waste the loyalty of his chosen. Every unseen victory adds to your authority. Every time you rise from failure, heaven cheers. Every time you choose mercy over bitterness, angels bow their heads in reverence because you mirror the heart of their King. You are walking proof that heaven's light still reigns upon the earth. At times you've sensed eyes on you when no one was there, a presence that made you feel both small and safe. That was not imagination. Heaven watches closely over its ambassadors. The path you walk is sacred ground because you carry divine purpose in every step. The closer you walk with God, the thinner the veil becomes until faith and reality start to merge. You begin to see patterns others miss, to feel timing others overlook. This awareness is not a burden, it is a gift. God trusts you with sensitivity because he knows you will not worship the messenger but the one who sent them. The angels that walk beside you do not desire attention. They desire completion of their mission to keep you aligned, protected, and strengthened until your purpose is fulfilled. There are realms you cannot see yet, but they move in response to your obedience. Every act of kindness, every prayer spoken in faith, every temptation resisted sends waves through creation. You are far more connected to heaven's workings than you realize. When you step into obedience, entire regions of darkness lose authority because a chosen one decided to walk in light. Pause for a moment and remember the times you should have fallen but didn't. Remember the opportunities that found you when you had stopped looking. Remember the words that comforted you when no one around you knew your pain. Those were not coincidences, they were divine interventions orchestrated by the hand of God through his messengers. Your life is proof that heaven interacts with earth daily. There are no coincidences, only coordination. The air you breathe carries purpose. The steps you take carry resonance, and the prayers you whisper carry weight. You may never see the full picture until eternity, but trust this: every unseen movement, every hidden rescue, every subtle shift has been written in heaven's record of your journey. The ancient writings remind us of this mystery in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 2. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing some have entertained angels without knowing it. The veil is not a wall, it is a curtain. And sometimes when faith burns bright enough, that curtain trembles. You will begin to see glimmers, signs, confirmations gentle yet undeniable. A sudden peace in chaos, a song that answers your question, a thought that leads you exactly where you need to be. These are not coincidences. Chosen one. These are signals from heaven that you are walking in His plan, attended by those sent to guard your destiny. Keep walking, even when the road feels lonely. You are never alone. Heaven's eyes follow you. Angels walk beside you. And the one who called you by name still whispers, "Do not fear, I am with you." You have walked through seasons that felt like wilderness, dry, silent, and endless. You cried out for direction, for confirmation, for a sign that heaven still heard you. But what you thought was absence was actually orchestration. In the wilderness, angels whisper. They do not shout over the noise of the world. They lean close to hearts that refuse to quit. That is why the silence was sacred. It made you listen deeper. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every disappointment carved space within you for something greater discernment. You learned to hear God in ways others could not. The wilderness stripped away distractions, false identities, and every counterfeit comfort until all that was left was your raw dependence on Him. It was in that very stillness that heaven began to speak clearer than ever before. The angels did not abandon you there. They surrounded you. They guarded your mind from collapse, your faith from fading, your spirit from breaking. Though you felt forgotten, you were being fortified. You were being trained to trust what you could not see. You were learning that divine strength is not found in the absence of struggle, but in the endurance that grows through it. Many people mistake delay for denial. But you, chosen one, are learning that heaven's timing is precise. Angels move not by emotion, but by instruction. They waited until you were ready to hear what silence was teaching. They stood in the unseen, holding back forces meant to crush you while heaven refined your heart. Every tear became a seed, and now every seed is beginning to break through the soil. You may not know this, but while you were praying through exhaustion, the heavens were rearranging things around you. Some doors closed not because you failed, but because protection arrived disguised as rejection. The wilderness was not punishment, it was preservation. You were hidden for a reason, shielded from counterfeit opportunities that would have destroyed your purpose. You see, angels do not just rescue, they also restrain. They block what would pull you off course. They delay what would have distracted you. And sometimes the delays hurt, but they are the proof of divine mercy. The wilderness is where the chosen are refined, where obedience becomes instinct, and where heaven's whispers become unmistakable. There were moments when you asked, "God, are you still with me?" And in that very question, heaven smiled, because the fact that you were still asking meant faith was alive. It meant the fire had not gone out. You did not realize that even in your lowest valley, angels stood guard, waiting for the command to carry you forward again. As the prophet's story reminds us in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 7. Then the angel of the Lord came again and touched him and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." These words echo through your own wilderness. You have been touched by grace in moments when you were ready to quit. The whisper to keep going was not your own strength, it was heaven's encouragement through unseen messengers. Every time you rose when everything in you wanted to give up, you were responding to a divine touch. So now, as the fog begins to lift, you understand what the wilderness really was, a classroom for the chosen. God was not silent. He was strategic. He let you walk through dryness so that you would thirst for what truly satisfies. He let you feel empty so that when the filling came, you would recognize it as holy. You were being shaped for destiny, not destroyed by delay. And now you can see it. The path before you glows faintly, illuminated by angelic presence. You can sense that help is near, that breakthrough is not an event, but a transition already happening within you. Heaven has been preparing you not just to survive, but to command storms, to comfort others, to walk as one who knows the language of the divine. You are no longer the same. The wilderness changed your vocabulary, samamomu. You now speak the language of endurance, of gratitude, of peace that surpasses understanding. You carry within you the sound of heaven's whisper, and when you speak, angels listen because your voice now carries authority forged in silence. Take this moment, chosen one, to declare that you are still standing. You did not break in the waiting. You did not lose your song in the silence. You did not drown in the delay. Heaven watched, and now heaven moves. Type, "I'm still here." Say it as a declaration that the wilderness did not win, that your faith outlasted the silence, and that angels are still surrounding you as you walk toward promise. When you write those words, you are not just commenting, you are confirming that what was meant to bury you has become your foundation. You have felt it, the shift in the atmosphere when you started walking in obedience. Light attracts attention, and not all of it is friendly. When you decided to align your steps with heaven, something happened in the unseen realm. Darkness noticed. The enemy that once ignored you began to take aim. You were no longer invisible to dawn. You became a signal of divine disruption. That's why the pressure increased. The battles grew more intense, not because you were losing ground, but because you were advancing. The enemy does not attack what does not threaten him. You carry authority that unsettles the shadows, and with every prayer, every act of faith, the ground under your feet becomes holy. The opposition you feel is confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. There are forces that tremble when a chosen one begins to understand who they truly are. Your obedience terrifies darkness because it reveals how powerless it truly is. The moment you said yes, the war intensified, but so did heaven's reinforcement. Angels began to surround your life, forming invisible barriers against unseen chaos. You may not always feel their presence, but the evidence is in your survival. You have faced seasons that could have broken you, yet here you stand. That is not luck, that is warfare. There were moments when darkness thought it had you cornered, but light broke through from places you did not expect. The prayers of your ancestors, the intercession of those who love you, and the presence of angels have all intertwined to keep you standing in this very moment. This battle you are in is not about your past. It's about your potential. The enemy attacks early what heaven anoints heavily. He sees what is coming even before you do. That's why the distractions have been louder, the doubts sharper, and the delays longer. But what darkness doesn't realize is that the pressure is producing power. The weight you carry is evidence of heaven's investment in you. Do not mistake spiritual warfare for abandonment. God has not left you. He has trusted you with the front line. Angels move according to your faith. When you speak truth, they advance. When you stand firm, they fortify. When you refuse to quit, they draw their swords, so you are not fighting alone. You are part of a divine army. Heaven itself stands in formation around your obedience. Think back to those moments when you almost gave up. The exhaustion, the confusion, the sense that everything was collapsing. Yet somehow you endured. That somehow was not strength of your own, it was divine intervention. Angels have been intercepting attacks you never saw, fighting battles you were never meant to fight. You only faced the surface of the storm while heaven handled the flood beneath it. There is a reason you survived what destroyed others. There is a reason you're still standing when logic says you shouldn't be. You are a threat to darkness because you carry light that cannot be extinguished. Every time you rise, you remind the enemy of his defeat. Every time you pray, the heavens shift again. Every time you forgive, chains break somewhere unseen. You are not just surviving, you are advancing the kingdom. Understand, this spiritual warfare is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like peace in the middle of chaos. Sometimes it looks like worship when the heart is heavy. Sometimes it looks like stillness when the world demands reaction. In those moments, heaven moves the most because your restraint becomes a weapon. The angels that walk beside you do not respond to panic, they respond to faith. As it was written in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. These ancient words remind you that your battle is not with people. It is with patterns, with unseen systems of darkness that resist divine order. That is why your weapons are not carnal. Your worship is a weapon. Your love is a sword. Your endurance is armor. Every act of faith sends shockwaves through the unseen, dismantling strongholds built to keep you bound. There will be days when the war feels too heavy. When that happens, remember you are not called to fight alone. You are backed by heaven's host. The same God who commanded light to shine out of darkness commands angels to move at your side. You are not just protected, you are empowered. You are a vessel of divine authority, anointed to stand in places others run from. Do not fear the fight. The presence of warfare means you are positioned in purpose. You carry a light that reveals truth, and truth always provokes reaction. But the louder the storm, the greater the confirmation that your obedience is shaking something in the spirit. Hold your ground, chosen one. You are covered. The battle you face is not proof of weakness, it is evidence of worth. You have been noticed by heaven and marked by destiny, and no power of darkness can undo what God has already decreed. There were moments when destruction should have reached you, but it didn't. Times when everything pointed toward disaster. Yet somehow, the storm broke around you instead of over you. That somehow was not coincidence. It was covenant. It was the shield of heaven, unseen yet unbreakable, raised around a chosen one. You may have felt the wind, but you were never touched by the strike. You were surrounded by protection so divine that even your enemies wondered why their weapons failed. The truth is, you have been walking under a covering. There are angels who have been stationed around you like silent sentinels. You didn't see them when your car should have crashed but didn't. You didn't hear them when your name was being spoken in rooms you were not in, turning judgment into mercy. You didn't notice when sickness approached your door but could not cross the threshold. You were shielded, completely covered by grace that worked quietly, like the roots of a tree drinking deeply where no one can see. You see, heaven doesn't always protect you with thunder. Sometimes it protects you with delay. Sometimes protection looks like loss. Sometimes it feels like being forgotten, but in truth, you are being hidden. The Lord's covering is like the shadow of a mighty eagle, stretching wide over its young. You may not have realized it, but you've been under his wings all along. As the psalmist wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 7, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." The word encamps means they set up a perimeter, a defense line. It means heaven built a fortress around your life. You have never been unguarded, not for a single day. The reason you survived betrayal, heartbreak, failure, and fear is because angels have been standing in the gap. They fought for your peace when you didn't even have the strength to pray. And here's the beauty of divine protection: it often hides in ordinary things. The delay that frustrated you was actually God's timing protecting you. The no that wounded you was a barrier against disaster. The unexpected change that felt like loss was heaven rerouting your destiny to safer ground. Every disappointment carried hidden deliverance. Think of it like a shepherd guiding his sheep. The sheep never understands why the shepherd uses the staff to block certain paths. It may hurt to be redirected, but the staff saves the sheep from the cliff. You too have been gently redirected, kept from paths that looked good but were traps in disguise. What you called rejection was often divine redirection. And because of that, you stand here alive, still chosen, still protected. You may carry scars, yes, but they are proof that the weapon formed against you did not prosper. You were wounded in battle but never destroyed. You have walked through fire and come out refined, not consumed. Every mark on your soul tells a story of divine defense. The protection of heaven is not just physical, it's spiritual. There were ideas that could have destroyed your peace, words that could have crushed your purpose, lies that could have poisoned your faith. Yet God placed a filter over your spirit. He would not allow certain things to settle in your heart. That's why, even when you doubted, a spark of hope never died. Even when you felt abandoned, something deep inside whispered, "Keep going." That whisper was protection too. Chosen one, pause and breathe. You are walking proof that heaven defends its own. The same angels that stood guard over Daniel in the lion's den, over Peter in the prison, over Mary and her fear, they stand guard over you. They form a circle of light around your name. You are not forgotten. You are fortified. And now, let me speak to your heart not as a voice on a screen, but as one who believes in what you carry. Messages like this travel across nations, carrying light to those who need to remember they are not alone. If this word is wrapped around your spirit like warmth after a cold night, then help it reach someone else. Click like, not for applause, but as an offering of gratitude to heaven for keeping you. Share this message, not for numbers, but to become a messenger yourself, a voice that reminds another soul they are still protected. Subscribe, not as a routine, but as a step of connection, staying linked to words that will keep your fire burning. And if your heart feels led, donate, not out of duty, but as a seed one that says, "I believe in light spreading." Because when you give into light, it multiplies. It becomes another lamp for another soul lost in the dark. Remember, this generosity is not about how much you have, but about how deeply you understand the one who provides. When you sow into messages of truth, you are sowing into eternity itself. You are living proof that heaven protects its chosen. You are surrounded, you are guarded, and you are still standing. Let gratitude be your banner, and let your obedience be your offering. You are beginning to see the pattern now. Every step you've taken, every season you've endured, every door that opened and closed it all makes sense in hindsight. Nothing was random. Heaven has been mapping your journey from the very beginning. Every delay, every encounter, every storm and calm, they were coordinates in a divine plan that angels were assigned to guide you through. You did not stumble here by luck. You were led here by design. The same hand that wrote your name in eternity has been directing your path in time. What looked like wandering was really alignment. What felt like confusion was construction. The Lord was not silent. He was strategic. Sometimes you wondered why the way was so narrow, why your circle grew smaller, why people who once stood with you drifted away. But chosen one, understand this: when heaven gives you an assignment, it also prunes your path. Angels are not only messengers, they are gatekeepers. They close doors that would detour you, remove distractions that would drain you, and stand guard over opportunities that are not yet ready for you to enter. This is divine order. Your life is not happening to you, it's unfolding for you. The steps of your journey have been written like lines in a celestial script. Heaven dispatches assistance not randomly, but intentionally. When you obey, the next instruction is revealed. When you resist, the guidance pauses. But even in disobedience, mercy still waits, angels still hover, patient for the moment you choose to return to the path. Sometimes, the guidance of heaven doesn't feel like light, it feels like limitation. You might feel confined, but that confinement is divine precision. Just as an arrow must be drawn back before release, you have been positioned, pulled, and prepared for impact. You think you're waiting, but really, heaven is aligning you with your target. The truth is, every choice matters. Angels move at the sound of obedience. When you say yes, they respond with speed, and when you hesitate, they stand still, holding what belongs to you until your heart is ready. There is no wasted time in the kingdom of God, only preparation. Even your pauses have purpose. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 14, "Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation?" Those words are not poetic, they are literal. You, chosen one, are an heir of salvation, and heaven has assigned help to you accordingly. Angels minister not because they must, but because it is their joy to serve those carrying divine destiny. You have more backup than you realize. Think about it: every obstacle you've overcome, every unseen danger avoided, every lucky timing that worked in your favor, it was all alignment. Heaven's system works like the movement of stars, precise, deliberate, interconnected. The same God who spoke galaxies into motion speaks coordinates over your life. You are walking in His rhythm, even when you don't feel it. There will be moments when the plan feels invisible, when the steps ahead seem unclear. But faith is not sight, it's trust in divine architecture. Heaven doesn't reveal everything at once, because revelation without preparation becomes ruin. So, every step you take is both a test and a teaching. You're not walking alone, you're walking in rhythm with eternity. Chosen one, pause and think of this every time you felt alone. Angels were already ahead, preparing the next chapter. When you lost what you thought you needed, heaven was removing what would have hindered you. You have been kept on a path that leads directly into purpose, and every detour has secretly been direction in disguise. This is the assignment of heaven, to make sure the plan of God over your life is fulfilled. No power of darkness can intercept what was written by divine decree. Angels ensure the alignment continues, even when your human eyes cannot see it. You may doubt, but heaven never does. Now, as a prophetic act of faith, I want you to comment 11:11 below. Not as a superstition, but as a declaration. Let 11:11 mean alignment, a symbol that you are walking in step with heaven's plan. It is your way of saying, I trust the divine coordinates. I move when heaven moves. Every comment becomes a digital altar, a testimony written in the light of obedience. You're not typing numbers, you're affirming destiny. You are saying to the unseen realm, I know who guides me, and I follow the call. Heaven watches such declarations, they become movement in the spiritual world. You are not lost, chosen one. You are aligned. Heaven has already charted your course, and angels have already been dispatched to ensure you reach your destination right on time. You have carried pain that others could not have survived. You have walked through fire and come out breathing when many thought you would not. There were wounds that bled in silence, wounds that no one saw, but heaven did. Those wounds, though painful, were not punishment. They were preparation. Every scar you bear holds a story, and every story has become a testimony. You have been shaped by struggle, but not defined by it. The truth is, heaven has a way of transforming agony into authority. Every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal you endured became part of your spiritual DNA. What was meant to break you has instead built a foundation of resilience that cannot be shaken. You are not fragile, you are forged. You are not forgotten, you are fortified. When you thought your prayers went unanswered, they were actually being rewritten. The answers were delayed not because heaven ignored you, but because heaven was perfecting you. God doesn't waste pain. He recycles it into purpose. Every moment of heartbreak has been redeemed as strength. Every piece of your brokenness has become material for miracles. Angels have witnessed your suffering, and they have not stood idly by. They have ministered healing to your soul in the midnight hours when no one else knew the depth of your pain. You were not weeping alone. They stood beside your bed when sleep would not come, whispering peace into your restless thoughts. They carried your groans as prayers when your voice had no words left. And though you did not see them, they saw you bleeding, but still believing. Heaven does not overlook those who endure. In fact, endurance is the language of the chosen. It tells heaven that you trust the process, even when you don't understand it. You learn to stand when it hurt to breathe. You learn to hope when everything looked hopeless. That is the mark of divine strength, the kind forged only through suffering that is surrendered, not resisted. As the prophet Isaiah reminds us in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Those words were written for souls like yours. The waiting has not been wasted. It has been weight training. You were not losing time, you were gaining stamina. You were being prepared to soar above what once bound you. The broken wings have healed into stronger ones, capable of carrying you higher than ever before. You may look at your scars and wish they would fade, but heaven sees them as wings. Each mark, each lesson, each ache became a feather in your spiritual ascent. You now rise with understanding, compassion, and vision. You no longer speak from theory, you speak from victory. The enemy may have struck you, but in wounding you, he unknowingly gave you weapons. You learned discernment. You learned humility. You learned how to fight with faith instead of fear. This transformation is sacred. The pain that once paralyzed you has now become the proof of your anointing. You are not merely surviving, you are ascending. The same fire that tried to consume you has refined you into gold. You have become a reflection of divine endurance, proof that pain cannot silence purpose. Remember this. Chosen one, the wound is the place where heaven enters. The brokenness you tried to hide became the doorway for divine visitation. Angels are drawn to authenticity. They gather around hearts that are raw yet surrendered. You did not need to be perfect. You only needed to stay open. And because you did, heaven responded. Your tears have become prophetic rain, watering the seeds of destiny that will soon bloom. You will see the fruit of your faithfulness. The years of silence are about to sing. The ashes you carried will soon reveal beauty unimaginable. The same hands that allowed the breaking are now releasing the blessing. Your story will not end in pain. It will end in glory. The wounds that once caused you shame will become your wings of testimony, carrying you higher than pain ever could. So lift your head. Look at how far you've come. The wilderness is behind you, the fire has refined you, and the wings that once trembled are now strong. You are ready to fly. Chosen one, heaven has seen your endurance and has marked your elevation. There are moments when heaven turns up the heat not to destroy you, but to define you. You've walked through fire, chosen one. And though you feared it would consume you, it has done something far more divine. It has purified you. Fire is not the enemy of gold, it is its maker. The flames that surrounded you were not signs of abandonment, but of refinement. Every trial that scorched your confidence was designed to separate the true from the temporary, the eternal from the unnecessary. You see, the covenant of God is a covenant of fire. It burns away what cannot last and illuminates what must remain. There were seasons when it felt as if everything was being stripped away: relationships, stability, comfort. But that was heaven's holy fire consuming what was not meant to follow you into your next chapter. The flames were never meant to destroy, they were meant to reveal what was real. Fire has a way of exposing authenticity. You discovered who was truly for you when the light of trial shone upon them. You learned who could stand with you in the furnace and who would flee at the first spark. And more importantly, you discovered who you truly were. The version of you that emerged from the flames is unrecognizable to the one who entered, stronger, sharper, holy. Sometimes the fire burns quietly. It isn't always dramatic or visible. Sometimes it looks like long nights of waiting, unanswered prayers, the testing of patience and faith. It is a slow burn, one that teaches surrender over striving. The deeper you walk with God, the more you learn that His fire is not about punishment, but about preparation. It clears space in your soul for the weight of glory that is coming. There were moments when you cried out, "Lord, this is too much." And heaven responded not with escape, but with endurance. The same fire that felt unbearable was building in you a resilience that no storm could undo. You were being molded into a vessel strong enough to carry His presence, faithful enough to withstand pressure, and pure enough to hold power without pride. The fire that surrounds you is also the fire that protects you. It forms a barrier between you and everything that was sent to destroy you. The enemies who tried to approach your destiny have found themselves scorched by the holiness that covers you. You carry a divine heat now, the fire of presence, the flame of calling, the radiance of one who has been through trial and still stands. The words of Isaiah remind us of this sacred reality in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43 and verse 2. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. The flames shall not consume you. You have lived those words. You have walked through circumstances that should have reduced you to ashes. And yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still burning with purpose. The reason the fire did not destroy you is because you were made of something eternal. The flame that could have consumed others became fuel for your faith. Do you realize what that means? You are proof that the covenant of fire works. You have endured purification without losing your light. You have walked through testing without losing tenderness. That is a miracle. The world teaches that hardship hardens hearts, but heaven's fire softens them instead. The more you surrendered, the gentler you became, and yet the stronger you stood. That is the paradox of divine fire. It makes you fierce and tender at once. And now, your spirit carries a glow that cannot be faked. Those who look at you may not understand it, but they will feel it. There is a weight to your presence now, a holiness that lingers in your words, a warmth that reveals you've been near the flame of God. You are not like you once were. The fire has made you radiant. Remember, gold does not fear the furnace. It recognizes it as the place of becoming. The flames you walked through were not random. They were written into your destiny long before you took your first breath. Every moment of heat was heaven saying, "You are ready for more." So do not curse the fire. Thank it. It did what comfort never could. It made you pure. It made you ready. It made you unstoppable. You walk now as one who carries the covenant of fire, refined, radiant, and redeemed. You've seen storms. Chosen one, you've stood beneath skies that broke open with no warning, waves rising higher than your faith could see. You've watched everything you built shake beneath the weight of sudden winds. Yet somehow, you're still standing. That somehow is not chance, it is evidence of divine covering. The voice that calmed the sea in Galilee is the same voice that spoke peace over you. There comes a moment in every believer's life when heaven allows the storm to roar, not to destroy, but to reveal the authority within. The tempest comes to test whether you still remember who commands the wind. It is easy to praise in calm waters, but faith is proven in crashing waves. The storm does not expose God's absence, it exposes His presence, hidden in the eye of chaos. You thought the thunder meant He left you, but it was heaven's announcement that power was near. The shaking was not meant to sink you, it was meant to shift you. The lightning was not wrath, it was revelation. Every strike illuminated what you could not see in sunlight, and every gust pushed you closer to where you were meant to be. Angels surrounded you when the storm rose, their wings sheltering you from what you could not bear. You did not drown because heaven declared, "Peace, be still." And in that stillness your bob and your faith grew. You learned that trust is not built in comfort but in crisis. You discovered that divine peace is not the absence of waves, it is the calm that stands unbroken inside of them. The voice still speaks today as it did then. It cuts through the noise, through the panic, through the fear that whispers you're alone. But you are not alone. You are never alone. Even when everything trembled, angels held the line. They carried messages you could not hear, kept balance when the wind tried to topple you, and whispered courage when your heart shook like the branches of a storm-tossed tree. You were not meant to avoid the storm, you were meant to speak to it. That is what sets you apart. The authority that heaven placed in you is not passive. It responds to pressure. When the storm rises, the anointing in you rises higher. When fear whispers, faith answers louder. You were designed to walk through storms, not run from them. The presence of chaos does not mean defeat, it means your destiny is close. The Gospel records it in the book of Mark, chapter 4, verse 39. Then he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. That same authority now lives in you. The storms around you may rage, but they must eventually bow to the peace within you. The calm you carry is not fragile, it is divine. You do not wait for the world to stop shaking before you find stillness. You bring stillness to the world that shakes. That is what it means to walk with heaven's power. When others run for shelter, you lift your hands toward heaven and declare peace. When others lose hope, you remember the one who commands the sea. That is why you have not been destroyed, because the voice of peace still speaks through you. The storm does not define you, it obeys you. But hear this, beloved, soul storms are not punishments, they are platforms. The louder the wind, the greater the witness. God allows tempests to reveal the strength of those He trusts. You were not tested because you were weak. You were tested because you were chosen. Heaven never refines what it does not intend to use. Your storm is your stage. and angels stand at its edge, watching how you will respond. Every declaration of faith sends a shockwave through the unseen. Every whisper of worship becomes lightning that strikes back against darkness. You may feel small in the storm, but your words carry the weight of heaven itself. So take this moment. The winds may still howl, but your spirit knows peace. The rain may still fall, but your foundation is divine. Speak what heaven already believes about you. You will not sink. You will not shatter. You will not fear. Now, as an act of agreement, comment "still standing." Write it not as mere words, but as a declaration of survival. When you say "still standing," you're not just describing endurance, you're prophesying continuation. You're telling the unseen world that the storm failed to move you. That phrase becomes your testimony, a banner of resilience seen by angels and read by heaven, because you are still standing, chosen one. The wind has spent its fury, the waves have lost their force, and now, on the other side of chaos, the sun rises again, not to remind you of what was lost, but to reveal what was gained: faith unshakable, peace immovable, and strength eternal. There are moments in life when the curtain is pulled back, and for a fleeting instant, you glimpse what has been written about you. It is not a random life, chosen one. It is a divine manuscript, every line carefully crafted by the author of creation. You are not improvising your way through existence. You are walking through a scroll sealed with purpose, inscribed by hands older than time. What you call delays were commas, not periods. What you thought were dead ends were page turns. Heaven has been writing your story with perfect rhythm, and angels have been turning each page with care. You have not missed your moment, you are in the middle of it. There was a time when you doubted your place in His plan. You wondered if maybe you had walked too far off the path, if perhaps heaven had rewritten your name out of its story. But no. Chosen one, the ink of grace does not fade. The scroll of purpose cannot be erased. What God has written over you still stands, unbroken by time, unshaken by failure. The prophet Jeremiah once recorded this revelation in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. You were not an afterthought, you were an assignment. Heaven dreamed you before the earth saw you. Every chapter you've lived, even the painful ones, has served a purpose in the grand narrative of redemption. The moments you wanted to erase are often the lines heaven highlighted, because it is through broken ink that the light shines brightest. The scroll written over your life is not fragile parchment, it is eternal covenant. Heaven does not write in pencil, it writes in promise. Every twist, every detour, every heartbreak is accounted for. God never lost control of the story. Even when the plot seemed dark, He was crafting a climax of glory. And here you are, standing at a turning point. The old pages are fading, and new ones are being unrolled before you. The angels assigned to your journey have not left. They are waiting for your agreement. Every yes you speak to heaven activates the next paragraph of your destiny. Every act of faith turns another page. You do not need to understand the whole story to walk in it. You only need to trust the author. But even divine stories need witnesses. The messages that remind souls of their purpose are carried not by ink alone, but by hearts willing to share them. That's where you come in. When you resonate with words like these, you become a carrier of light, a messenger echoing what heaven speaks. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, I invite you to take a small, sacred step like this message, not as a click, but as a silent amen to heaven's design. When you click like, It's your way of saying, I agree with what's written about me. Then share it not for recognition, but as a ripple. Each time you share, think of it as passing a torch. Somewhere, someone needs this light. Somewhere, another heart is waiting to remember that their story is not over. Your share might be the divine signal that awakens them. If you feel called to, subscribe not as routine but as relationship. Staying connected keeps your spirit close to words that rekindle faith and strengthen resolve. This connection is not just digital, it's spiritual. It is a community of chosen ones walking through their scrolls together. And if your heart is moved to go deeper, to help this message reach further, consider a donation, not as a transaction, but as a seed planted in fertile soil. Imagine each gift as a feather on the wings of this message, carrying it to someone sitting in the dark. You are not giving to a screen, you are giving to a mission. You are fueling light, empowering truth, and sustaining hope. Sometimes generosity is the echo of gratitude. The same way rain returns to the sky as mist, blessings return upward when they're released in faith. Your giving becomes part of heaven's circulation system, carrying life where there was drought. Every gesture of support, like share, subscribe, donate, is more than engagement. It is prophecy in motion. It is your way of saying, I will help heaven's words travel. Remember this. Chosen one, your story is not finished, and your participation in light is part of your calling. Heaven does not just write about you, it writes through you. The scroll continues as you act in faith, speak in love, and move in obedience. The pages ahead are radiant with promise. Trust the author. Turn the page. The next line of your destiny begins now. There are moments when heaven's help wears a human face. You expected wings, light, and song, but instead, the angels that carried you came clothed in ordinary flesh. A friend who showed up at the right time. A stranger whose kindness redirected your day. A voice on the phone that spoke peace when you were on the verge of collapse. These were not coincidences. They were heaven's hands reaching through humanity. Not all angels announce themselves with trumpets. Some enter quietly, unnoticed by those who don't look with spiritual eyes. They come carrying warmth in a smile, wisdom in a word, or strength in a touch. Heaven often hides its messengers in the mundane because humility guards glory. God sends help disguised as ordinary people so that faith may discern what sight cannot. You have entertained angels without knowing it. That comforting word when your hope was thin. That unexpected provision when resources ran dry. That impossible timing when all seemed lost, each was a divine intervention wrapped in simplicity. You may never know their names, but heaven recorded their obedience. Every act of kindness you've received has been a line in heaven's record of mercy. Angels do not always descend from clouds. Sometimes they rise from crowds. They move through the hands of nurses, the compassion of friends, the patience of teachers, the prayer of a grandmother. Heaven orchestrates human hearts to align with divine timing. And every time love moved toward you when logic said it shouldn't, that was angelic activity. Sometimes angels arrive for moments so small that they escape your memory. The cashier who smiled when you were weary. The child who laughed when you were sad. The stranger who helped carry your burden when your arms were full. All of them could have been sent for you. Heaven's work is subtle. It prefers to whisper rather than shout, to surprise rather than to show off. And sometimes the angel is you. You may not realize it, but there were moments when you were heaven's answer to someone else's prayer. That time you listened instead of judging. That day you forgave instead of retaliating. That hour you gave when you had little left. You became the miracle someone was waiting for. Angels and chosen ones share the same mission to carry the heart of God into the world. You have been both the protected and the protector, the helped and the helper. The sacred text reminds us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 35. Then the king will say, "I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in." These words are a revelation the divine hides in the desperate. Every time you show compassion, you are touching the presence of heaven. Every act of kindness is worship in disguise. God measures not the magnitude of your gesture, but the purity of your heart behind it. So many times, you've wondered why you felt compelled to help someone out of the blue. That stirring in your chest, that sense of "I need to do this," that was angelic guidance. Heaven speaks through intuition, through nudges that feel like love in motion. You've been guided by light without even realizing it, part of a divine network that moves blessings like rivers flowing unseen beneath the ground. And yes, there were also moments when someone you thought was just passing by was, in truth, heaven's messenger sent on assignment. Perhaps you felt their words linger longer than they should have, as if eternity had brushed against time. That's because it did. Angels use voices that sound familiar so that we can receive truth without fear. All through your life, you have been surrounded by these quiet emissaries, human and heavenly. You may never be able to count them, but their fingerprints are everywhere. On your healing, on your progress, on your survival. Chosen one, understand this: you have never walked alone, not even in the most human sense. Heaven's help has always found a vessel willing to carry it to you. And sometimes, heaven's help was carried through your own hands. This is the mystery of grace, that the infinite God chooses to move through finite hearts. That angels partner with mortals. That love, invisible by nature, chooses visibility through you. So walk with open eyes. Look for God in the ordinary. Expect heaven in the human. For as long as love moves, angels are near. And as long as you keep walking in kindness, you yourself will remain one of heaven's hidden messengers, bringing light wherever your feet touch the ground. There is a sacred moment in every journey when obedience is tested, when heaven leans close and waits for your yes. You stand at that threshold now. Chosen one, the place where surrender and destiny meet. The battle around your life has never been about your comfort. It has always been about your obedience. The enemy does not fear your talent, your strength, or your intelligence. He fears your yes. Because when you obey, heaven moves from the beginning of time. Obedience has been the currency of the kingdom. Every miracle in Scripture, every breakthrough in history, began with someone who dared to say, "Yes, Lord," even when it hurts. Your yes is a signal that awakens angelic movement. It tells heaven, "I trust you beyond what I understand." It tells darkness, "You have no authority over my will." You have felt that tension before, the pull between what's easy and what's right. Obedience rarely feels convenient. It often asks you to leave comfort for calling, to walk away from what feels safe toward what feels sacred. Yet, each time you choose surrender, you open another gate in the Spirit. Angels receive new assignments when your will aligns with heaven's. Think of it this way: obedience is the key that unlocks divine order. When you obey, you harmonize with heaven's frequency. Suddenly, things that felt impossible begin to shift. Paths straighten, doors open, delays dissolve. Not because you force them, but because heaven recognizes a voice that sounds like trust. But there's another truth few understand: obedience will cost you something. You cannot carry old habits into new seasons. The greater the calling, the deeper the surrender. You've probably noticed that some people walked away when you chose holiness. Some opportunities vanished when you refused compromise. That's not loss, it's filtration. Heaven removes what cannot travel to your next dimension. Even Jesus, the perfect example of obedience, wept in Gethsemane before saying yes. Heaven does not demand emotionless submission. It honors courageous surrender. Every time you say yes while afraid, every time you trust while uncertain, every time you stay faithful while unseen, you echo his victory. Angels bow when they hear that kind of faith. The Apostle James captured this truth in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. These words are more than instruction, they are strategy. Submission activates power. Resistance breaks chains. When you yield your will to God's, you inherit his authority. That's why obedience is so fiercely attacked. The enemy knows it's your access point to divine strength. He wants you distracted, discouraged, disobedient, because a silent no delays heaven's next move. But you are not the hesitant kind. You've been refined for this. You know too much of his faithfulness to doubt him now. Even when the road feels uncertain, your spirit recognizes his voice. You've learned that obedience is not about understanding every detail, it's about trusting the one who wrote them. The outcome is not your burden. The yes is. Look back at your life, every breakthrough followed a moment of obedience. Every door you walked through was opened by a single act of trust. Even your survival is proof that somewhere along the way, you obeyed a whisper that saved you. And because you did, heaven has continued its work through you. There are new instructions waiting for your next yes. They may not come loudly, but you'll know them by their peace. Heaven never shouts over confusion, it speaks softly to surrendered hearts. Listen for that whisper. It may tell you to move. It may tell you to wait. But whatever it says, do it. For obedience is how chosen ones walk through impossible doors. And now, as a prophetic act of alignment, comment 44444. Let 44444 be your declaration of obedience, a symbol that your heart is synchronized with heaven's rhythm. 4 represents foundation, the building of stability in the spirit. When you type it, you are saying, my foundation is obedience. My path is divine alignment. My steps are ordered by God. Each number you write becomes an echo in eternity, a testimony that you've heard the call and chosen surrender over hesitation. Heaven sees such declarations not as digits, but as devotion. Chosen one, your yes is your weapon, your surrender is your strategy. Keep saying yes, even when it costs you, because every time you do, heaven releases new grace, new strength, new protection. The battle for your obedience is the battle for your next breakthrough, and you are winning. There comes a time when the rhythm of heaven becomes your own, when you no longer chase signs because you are one. You've crossed that threshold, chosen one. You now walk the prophetic path not because you seek revelation, but because revelation flows through you. Your steps are no longer random, they are synchronized with divine timing. You sense when to speak and when to stay silent, when to wait and when to move. This awareness is not learned from books, it is imparted through intimacy. You have become a living prophecy, a moving message written not with ink but with obedience. Heaven's language now breathes through you. The timing of your life is not accidental, it is symphonic. Every delay is a rest note. Every miracle is a crescendo. You are both instrument and melody, and the composer plays through you. There were times you doubted this rhythm. You thought maybe you had lost your way. Maybe you'd missed something. But heaven's timing cannot be missed by those who walk with surrender. Even when you stumble, the rhythm remains beneath your feet. Angels adjust your tempo, guiding you back into divine synchronization. What feels like waiting is often heaven tuning your spirit before the next song begins. Walking the prophetic path means living in trust more than clarity. You don't always know what's next, but you know who leads. And that knowing is enough. Prophets of old were never driven by comfort, they were carried by conviction. They walked where logic ended and faith began. So do you. So do. You've learned to discern the difference between noise and the voice. The world screams with urgency, but heaven speaks in stillness. You've discovered that God's directions are often whispered, not shouted, because intimacy requires quietness. The more you silence fear, the clearer you hear. At first, this sensitivity felt like a burden. You sensed people's pain before they spoke it, felt storms before they arrived. But that was training, not torment. Heaven was teaching you to read the spiritual climate the way sailors read the wind. You've learned to notice subtle shifts in atmosphere, to sense when grace lifts or favor flows. You walk now as one who carries spiritual weather inside your spirit, storms calm when you enter a room because heaven's peace walks in with you. This is the prophetic path to move in awareness that every step carries weight. You do not just walk on earth, you imprint heaven upon it. Your footprints glow in the unseen. Every word you speak, every prayer you breathe, every act of mercy leaves a trail of divine fragrance that lingers long after you've passed. You are a conduit between realms, the divine walking clothed in the dust of humanity. The psalmist declared this truth long ago in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. That delight is your rhythm. You no longer walk in reaction, you walk in revelation. Heaven delights in your movement because it mirrors divine intention. Every moment you choose peace over pride, humility over haste, patience over panic. The Father smiles because you are walking His way, not merely your own. And this path, though holy, is not without weight. Prophetic walking demands solitude at times. Many will not understand your pauses, your stillness, your sudden urgency to move. They'll think you're indecisive when you're actually listening. You have learned to value divine timing over public approval. That's what sets you apart. You no longer measure life by schedules, but by signals. Angels walk this path with you. They mark moments you cannot see, aligning circumstances like constellations until everything clicks into purpose. What others call coincidence, heaven calls coordination. Each step leads to someone's answered prayer. Each delay protects another's destiny. You are part of a map much larger than yourself. And though you sometimes wish the path were clearer, know this light only reveals one step at a time for those trusted with depth. Too much light too soon blinds the eyes, but measured light keeps you humble, dependent, and in rhythm. That is how heaven trains its chosen. Prophetic walking is not about predicting the future, it's about revealing God's presence in the present. You don't just announce what's coming, you embody what is. The world looks to prophets for foresight, but heaven calls them to be forerunners, those who live tomorrow's truth today. You are one of them. So walk gently, but boldly. Your path is sacred. Every step resounds in eternity like music echoing through a cathedral. You are no longer chasing destiny, you are dancing with it. The prophetic path is not something you follow, it is something you become. There are crowns that the world cannot see, crowns forged not from gold but from glory. You wear one now, chosen one, though you may not feel its weight. It is the invisible mark of endurance, of faith that refused to fade in the fire. Heaven places crowns on those who stand when standing costs everything. It is not awarded at the finish line, it is worn in the journey. You see, the world crowns success, but heaven crowns surrender. Your crown was not given because you never fell. It was given because you always rose. Every time you said, "I still believe," another gem was added. Every act of obedience polished it brighter. You may not see it reflected in mirrors, but angels see it glowing upon your head every time you choose light over bitterness. There was a season when you felt unseen, when it seemed like no one noticed your faithfulness. You gave, forgave, waited, trusted, and silence followed. But heaven does not overlook devotion. It stores it. Every unseen act of obedience was recorded in eternity. Every tear shed in secret was counted. The crown you now wear was crafted in those quiet moments of perseverance. You are not waiting to be crowned, you already are. The recognition may not yet have reached the earth, but the appointment has already been made in heaven. The Father himself placed it upon you in the moment you refused to surrender to despair. You were chosen for this, not just to endure trials, but to transform through them. As the Apostle James wrote in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him." You have stood the test, and you continue to stand. The crown of life is not a reward waiting far away. It is the life of God pulsing within you now. Every breath you take in faith is proof that the divine life has conquered what once sought to destroy you. You are walking testimony that the promises of God are not distant. They are living realities. Crowns are not just symbols of victory. They are marks of responsibility. Those crowned by heaven are not called to sit, they are called to shine. The crown you carry is a beacon to others wandering in darkness. When they look at you, they see endurance embodied. They see hope that did not quit. They see glory in human form. There is humility in this too. True crowns are carried lightly. They are not meant to elevate pride, but to reflect purpose. You do not wear your crown to be seen. You wear it to serve. The greatest kings in heaven's kingdom are those who kneel lowest in love. You understand now that leadership in God's eyes is servanthood refined by suffering. And yet, the beauty of your crown is not only in what it represents, it's in what it reminds heaven of. Every time angels look at you, they remember redemption's story. They see the reflection of their king in human resilience. They see what grace can do in flesh and blood. You are proof that holiness can dwell in humanity without consuming it. That light can live in limitation and still overcome. This realization changes how you walk. You move with quiet authority, not arrogance. You speak with peace that doesn't need to shout. You act with compassion that expects nothing in return. The crown has changed how you see yourself and others. You understand now that those around you, even the broken ones, may be hidden royalty waiting to awaken. There will still be moments when you forget your crown. Life will press heavy. The world will grow loud, and doubt will whisper that you're ordinary. But somewhere deep within, your spirit will remind you of the truth: crowns do not fall easily from heads that bow in prayer. Your humility secures what pride would lose. Every time you kneel before heaven, your crown settles more firmly upon you. This is the paradox of the chosen crowned, yet humble. Royal, yet servant. Victorious, yet gentle. You were never called to wear your crown for recognition, but for reflection, to mirror the glory of the one who placed it there. So walk forward, head lifted not in pride, but in peace. You do not need to seek validation. Your value was already declared in the heavens. Your crown shines even when unseen, radiant with every act of love, every whisper of forgiveness, every step of endurance. You are crowned already, chosen one crowned with life, with purpose, with light, and no darkness can ever take it from you. There is a stirring in the air, a gathering unlike any before. Heaven is summoning its luminous army, calling every chosen one to rise. Across nations, hearts awaken at the same hour without knowing why. It's the great gathering of light, a divine alignment where the faithful stand shoulder to shoulder, unseen but united. You feel it, don't you? The pull in your spirit, the electricity beneath the stillness. It's the sound of destiny assembling. You were never meant to shine alone. Stars are most powerful when they form constellations. Flames burn brighter when joined in a single fire. That's what heaven is doing now, joining the lights, weaving souls together into a tapestry of purpose that glows against the world's growing night. You are part of that pattern, a necessary thread in God's great design. Every prayer you whisper, every act of kindness you release, every time you choose love instead of bitterness, you send a spark into this collective flame. And together, these sparks are becoming a wildfire of awakening. The earth has groaned long enough. Now it will witness the rise of those who refuse to bow to fear, doubt, or darkness. You are one of them, one of the burning ones. The sacred words remind us in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness into His marvelous light. Those words are the anthem of this movement. They were written for you, for those who have walked through shadow and now carry light. You were not rescued merely to survive. You were redeemed to reveal. The glory of God is not just upon you, it shines through you. When heaven calls its chosen ones together, it is summoning its royal ambassadors to stand as living proof that darkness never wins. And as you rise, something sacred happens, others follow. Your courage becomes contagious. Your endurance gives others permission to believe again. Your words become wings for those too weary to stand. That is the power of shared light. The gathering of chosen ones isn't about one voice growing louder. It's about a chorus forming across the earth, echoing heaven's melody through many mouths and many hearts. But for this fire to spread, it needs airspace to breathe, move, and reach. That's where you come in. When you like this message, it's more than approval, it's agreement. You are breathing life into light. Every like becomes a spark that signals, I'm part of this flame. Heaven recognizes unity even in silence. When you share, imagine releasing a lantern into a vast night sky. Somewhere, a wandering soul looks up and sees that light. Your act of sharing becomes their sign of hope. You're not just posting content, you're sending rescue. You're telling the world, there's still light, there's still love, there's still purpose. To subscribe is to say, I want to keep walking in the glow. It's choosing consistency with heaven's reminders. It's building an altar in your digital space, a place where words of life keep meeting you week after week, guiding your flame so it never dims. And if your heart feels stirred, let generosity move you. Donate not because you must, but because you can. Think of it as adding oil to a lamp that lights the world. Each seed of support keeps this message traveling, reaching prisons of despair, hearts on the edge, souls searching for truth. You're not giving to a voice, you're partnering with a vision. Every gift, no matter the size, becomes a bridge for someone else to encounter light. And yes, let your words be part of this movement. Comment below, write a short reflection, a prayer, a spark of gratitude. Your words might be the very flame that reignites another soul. You never know who is reading, trembling in silence, waiting for proof that light still exists. Be that proof. This is what the great gathering of light looks like. It's not noise, it's resonance. It's hearts awakening to their divine identity, one by one, until the whole earth begins to glow. The kingdom is not coming, it's unfolding through you. So shine where you stand. Beloved, you are part of heaven's chorus, part of the constellation that pushes back the night. The time of light has come, and yes, you are one of its brightest flames. It begins quietly the moment when heaven's reality touches the earth. You've prayed for years, believed through silence, and walked through fire. But now the atmosphere shifts. The sky begins to open. The spiritual veil that once concealed the movement of heaven trembles, and you sense it in your bones. The unseen becomes tangible, and everything inside you knows something divine is unfolding. You can feel it, can't you? The heaviness that once hung over your spirit begins to lift. The air seems lighter, the light seems clearer, the sounds of the world feel softer. It's as though heaven itself leans closer, whispering secrets meant only for the chosen. You are standing under an open heaven, a realm where prayers ascend and answers descend without delay. For a long time, it seemed like the heavens were made of brass, every prayer echoing back unanswered. But silence was never denial, it was preparation. God was aligning the timing, arranging the right angels, waiting for your faith to mature enough to carry what you've asked for. Now the alignment is complete. The heavens respond not to desperation but to faith, and your faith has reached its fullness. When the sky opens, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. What you once called coincidence now feels like choreography. People appear at the right moment. Doors open without explanation. Opportunities align with divine timing. It's as if invisible hands have been rearranging the world around you while you waited. And they have. Angels have been busy, unseen but never inactive, carrying assignments written in the ink of your prayers. In the book of John, chapter 1, Verse 51, you will see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. These words were not a promise for one man. They were a revelation for all who walk in divine alignment. The same ladder of connection that Jacob saw in his dream still stands in the spirit. Heaven is not far away, it moves like breath around you. The opened sky is proof that your world and heaven's world were never meant to stay separate. When heaven opens, answers flow differently. The things you used to chase begin to find you. The opportunities that once seemed out of reach start knocking on your door. You no longer strive for favor, you live under it. You start realizing that prayer isn't only speaking, it's alignment, it's participation, it's awareness. Heaven has always been near. Now your eyes are trained to see it. You notice patterns you once overlooked, the way peace arrives before provision, the way grace fills the gaps between effort and result, the way unexpected blessings fall like rain on soil you thought was barren. That's the beauty of an open heaven. It waters what seemed dead until life quietly blooms again. The opening of the sky is not loud, but it is undeniable. It doesn't come with thunder, but with tenderness. You find yourself crying without knowing why, worshiping without needing music, smiling through tears that carry no sadness. This is what happens when heaven draws close. The soul recognizes home, and even the body feels the weight of glory. Do you remember those nights when you begged God for a sign? This is it, not a symbol in the sky, but the shift in your spirit, the peace that makes no sense, the clarity that wasn't there before, the courage to keep moving. Those are signs of heaven's nearness. The open sky is not about spectacle, it's about access. What was once distant has become deeply intimate. The angels move freely now, ascending and descending, carrying prayers and bringing answers. You are no longer fighting for connection. You are living in communion. The same light that filled the upper room now fills your space. Quiet, but holy. Unseen, but transformative. This moment will change you forever. Once you've stood beneath an open heaven, you can never live as if the sky were closed again. You will speak differently, walk differently, and love differently because you know that you are not alone. You have seen what others doubt and felt what words can barely hold. Heaven is open, chosen one. The ladder still stands, the angels still move, and the glory still descends. All that remains is for you to keep walking in awareness, eyes lifted, heart open, for the sky above you is not silent, it sings. And that song carries your name. You walk now with a stillness that wasn't there before. The pace of your heart has changed. It beats in rhythm with eternity. You no longer move as one uncertain or afraid. You move as one who knows heaven is near. Angels walk beside you, and every breath you take is part of a divine plan still unfolding. The path beneath your feet is holy because of the presence that accompanies you. The journey has been long. You have walked through shadow and light, through silence and song, through fire and rain. Yet, through it all, you were never unaccompanied. Angels have walked with you in every chapter, sometimes in brilliance, sometimes in disguise, but always in purpose. They were there when you stumbled, catching what would have broken. They were there when you wept, recording each tear as sacred evidence of faith. They were there when you triumphed, rejoicing silently as heaven's victory echoed through your veins. Now you see what you could not before, that you were surrounded all along. The moments that felt like solitude were sanctuaries in disguise. Every delay was a detour towards safety. Every closed door was an angel's hand redirecting your steps. The divine choreography of your life has been precise and unbroken, a masterpiece of mercy woven through the ordinary rhythm of days. You understand now that angels do not simply visit, they dwell. They move where faith makes room. They respond to reverence, to trust, to love that lingers even when answers seem far away. Their presence is not loud, yet it fills every silence with assurance. You no longer need visible proof because you have learned to recognize invisible peace. You walk in a serenity that confuses the world. Storms still come, but they no longer shake you. Pain still touches your life, but it no longer defines you. You have learned the difference between being shaken and being stirred. You are stirred toward compassion, stirred toward hope, stirred toward the light that first called your name. The psalmist captured this sacred confidence in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 6. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Those words no longer read as distant promises, they are your present reality. Goodness and mercy are not abstractions, they are companions. They walk behind you like faithful guardians, ensuring that even what tries to harm you is reshaped into blessing. You are followed, pursued even by grace itself. This awareness changes everything. You stop rushing, stop striving, stop fearing. Life becomes less about arrival and more about presence. You begin to understand that every step is sacred because every step is accompanied. Heaven is not a destination, it is a dimension you now inhabit. The angels no longer feel distant, they feel like family. You hear their silence the way you hear your own heartbeat, constant, reassuring, alive. When you pray, it feels different now. You are no longer speaking into the air, you are conversing with allies. You sense the movement around you when your words rise upward. When you worship, you can almost feel the vibration of wings joining the rhythm of your song. Heaven's nearness is no longer a mystery, it is your normal. And because of this, you walk softer through the world. You listen longer, love deeper, and forgive faster. You have learned that every soul carries unseen battles, just as you did, and perhaps unseen guardians too. Compassion has replaced judgment. Gratitude has replaced complaint. You understand now that the most spiritual posture is not striving, but surrender the quiet confidence of one who knows they are watched over. This awareness does not make you proud, it humbles you. For who are we, that heaven should send help so constant, so careful, so tender? And yet, that is the nature of divine love. It guards, it guides, it gives without measure. You have become both the recipient and the reflection of that love. You walk with angels now, not because you've earned it, but because grace has chosen it. Every sunrise is a reminder that you are part of heaven's unfolding story. Every nightfall is a promise that even in darkness, light keeps watch. The wings that once shielded you in crisis now escort you in calling. You are no longer just surviving, you are participating in the divine. So walk forward. Chosen one. Not hurried, not hesitant, just holy. The road before you glows faintly, touched by the same radiance that crowns your soul. The journey continues, but so does the presence. The story goes on, but so does the light. And as you move, angels move with you forever, fulfilling the plan of the one who sent them. And now, chosen one, you've reached the final line of this divine scroll. You have walked through revelation, through fire, through silence and glory, and heaven has walked with you through it all. The story that began as a whisper has become a song of victory. You are proof that purpose prevails, that light endures, that angels still move among us. If these words have stirred something in your soul, let gratitude answer heaven's call. Like this message, not as routine, but as worship, an echo of thank you for all the unseen mercies that carried you here. Share it as an act of faith, letting the same light that reached you find another heart waiting in darkness. Take a moment to comment below, write a prayer, a sentence of hope, or simply "I receive." Your words become living sparks, connecting one soul to another until light fills the digital sky. And if your heart desires to walk further on this journey of truth, subscribe not to a channel, but to a movement of hearts awakening together. The story doesn't end here. Beloved, it continues in you, through you, and because of you. The chosen ones walk on, crowned with purpose, surrounded by light,